Welcome into another episode of the Sit Down with Shane. I'm your host, Shane Barrett, hence the Sit Down with Shane. You can find me on Twitter at FFShaneB, and joining me tonight is co-host of the Drinking and Talking Fantasy Football and BallBlast shows, contributor to Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life newsletter, and king of the impersonations. It is Mr. Jake Trowbridge. Jake, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great, Shane. I want to call out that you gave me that last little tag there.
100%.
I didn't put that in my bio. I'm not that egotistical, but I do
that was
appreciate
100% me. That's how I feel about Jake wherever you are on my screen. Jake is one of the most entertaining people on Twitter, if you ask me. His impersonations are top notch. So that was 100% me. Jake did not tell me to put that in his intro. So
Always going to clarify, just in case people are walking into this thinking like, look at this egomaniac.
Yeah, right? But I mean, if people really know you, they know you're not an egomaniac.
So. I hope so. I hope that's accurate.
Awesome. Well, before we hop into the questions for the show, we are going to jump into a quick ad read. So come prop up on Thrive Fantasy next football season. But cool thing about Thrive is they have basketball, they have baseball, they've got golf, they've got esports. I think they even have tennis. I don't know how you play or prop a bet on tennis, but I'm not going to try. But Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. You choose 10 out of the 20 available player props and build your fantasy lineup from that. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both the over and the under and how likely it is to hit. You rack up points based on those props, and you win the most, or you win a share of the prize pool by racking up the most points. It's easy to do because even I can win, and I have won. So use promo code FFShaneB on the Thrive Fantasy app on the App Store or Play Store, or by visiting www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and prop up today. All right, Jake, are you ready?
I'm so ready. By the way, I did want to quick mention this one thing. Your promo image for this podcast that went out on Twitter did inspire me. I feel a little bit like, I don't know, like a high school English teacher that's trying too hard to be silly right now because I'm wearing a tie and suspenders, but I'm only doing it as an homage to that image that you posted of yourself from a wedding a few years ago.
You look great. High school English teacher, I would say, is an accurate description as well.
Good. Nailed it.
Awesome. So let's jump into the questions now. When was your first fantasy football league, Jake?
My first league, my home league that I'm still in, I joined that 7 or 8 years ago.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about fantasy football, but my buddy, actually one of them is my current co-host of Drinking and Talking Fantasy Football, Dustin Lunt, helped get me into that league. Yeah, so it was quite the experience jumping into the deep end with that.
I'm sure. And you said that league's still going?
Still going. Still going strong. Yeah.
Awesome. What are the settings for that league?
They're the worst. So this league, if it was not my home league and I didn't love these people, I would never be in this league. It is it's pretty standard from like a roster construction and lineup standpoint. So it's a PPR format, one quarterback, no tight end premiums or any fancy pantsness like that. There are some extremes for like big play points and that kind of thing. But why I always look at it with so much disdain is there are only 10 waiver pickups allowed throughout the entire season in this league. What? You only get one trade per year as well in this league. What? And we have been trying to change this since I got into the league, basically. Not my first year, because I was just trying to get the lay of the land, but pretty much every year since that, I've been trying to get it changed. It won't happen.
Oh, my God. Okay, the waivers, you could strategically make that work, I think.
You try. You just try your best. Yep.
But the trades, that breaks my heart. Is this a redraft or a dynasty league?
This is redraft, thankfully. If this was dynasty, I think I would truly be out if there was
Yeah.
only one trade allowed for a year.
If
But no, it's
this was
redraft.
dynasty and you could only make one trade, my head probably would have fallen off.
Would not be great. Now, the other thing that's a bummer is like, 10 waiver ads. Yeah, you can try and strategize your way through that, but injuries happen and there's still only one IR spot. Like, if we're going to do this, can we at least have like unlimited IR spots so that we don't get put into that corner? But alas, I'm not the commissioner. I don't have these powers, nor do I want to be commissioner. So I only push so hard because I don't want to take it.
Right? Look, being commissioner, it is a thankless job. I'm sure you know that, but
For sure.
Thank your commissioners, people. Okay, so is that your longest league?
It is. That's the OG.
Very cool. All right. And I don't know about you, Jake, but I always frame this question this way. Last year, I was in way too many leagues. I know a lot of people in the pandemic were in way too many leagues and tried to cut back because, people are actually going back to work, except you and me. We're still working from home. But the way I frame this question is you're maxed out on leagues. You can join one more, though, but the only way that you can join it is your favorite settings. What are those settings?
If I had my druthers, which is a very old-timey phrase, I understand. But if I had my preference, it's the tie, I think, that made me say that.
It's the tie. Well, and for me, my druthers takes me to Outer Banks. So it's relevant enough. We'll take it.
Hey, all right. That's fine then. You know what? I'm just going to pat myself in the back for even working that in a casual conversation then. But if I did have my preference for a league and it just had to be one, I am definitely more dynasty inclined now.
Yeah.
I like the continuity. There's something to be said for redraft, and I appreciate the hell out of it because you can just hit that draft, enjoy it, and get out. But I love dynasty, and Superflex is my jam now. I almost have to have it be Superflex. One quarterback leagues just don't do anything for me. They really do absolutely nothing for me. I want the importance at the position to be highlighted. And if I really get to be choosy, then I also want tight end premium.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I want a little something extra for rushing yards too. I want like that quarter per rush attempt. Like I just want as much of that goofy stuff in there as possible.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I think you and I would enjoy similar league styles. Like I want points for like as much as you can get points for. Like I want the scoring to be like 400 points a game because you're getting points per carry and points per reception and a bonus for a 40-yard touchdown and all this other stuff. Like I want it to be super high scoring. Makes it more fun for me.
And it makes me feel like I did good even when I didn't do good because look at all these points I got. It doesn't matter that it's 100 less than the other guy. Just look at my points. It's a lot.
Exactly. Exactly. What is, and if you don't know off the top of your head, no worries. What is the highest tight end premium that you've played with?
I have only done, I shouldn't say only, it's a lot, but it's double. So it's 2 per reception for tight ends.
Yeah, cool. And then have you played any tiered PPR?
Yeah, it's too hard. It's honestly, it's too much for me to wrap my head around.
So which tiered PPR have you played? Have you played where it's tiered by position? So like running backs 0.5 point, receivers 1 point, and tight ends like 1.5?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever played by distance?
No, and that sounds way more intimidating.
It's not. It's awesome.
Okay. Lay it on me.
So really what I need to change the show is a pitch for tiered PPR to everyone. I love tiered PPR. I love it by distance versus position. So basically what it is like 0 to 4 yards is like 0.5 point. And then 5 to 9 is like 0.75. 10 to 19 is like 1. 20 to 29 is like 1.25 or something like that. So each like 10-yard increment, except for the first 2, goes up by like a quarter of a point or a half of a point. So your longer plays are worth more, obviously, and then your shorter plays are worth a little bit less. And it kind of evens out the positions, or even like the Wes Welkers, the Julian Edelmans, who are getting those short receiving yards. In PPR, though, they get a ton of extra points because they're just getting reception after reception after reception. Whereas tiered PPR by distance kind of balances that out. And that's why I love it.
I don't hate it. And it finally lets Tyler Lockett thrive where he should be as like a top 5 receiver then,
Yeah,
know?
right? Exactly. So yeah, there's my pitch for tiered PPR. We'll get you in the league sometime with it. Because basically if I'm a commish of a league, I'm gonna have
it. Fair.
So, all right. When did you start making fantasy football content, Jake?
It was very shortly after I started playing. Too shortly. In retrospect, I really did need to wait longer before I started jamming on some content. I transitioned out of writing for like humor magazines and online periodicals.
Yeah.
Periodicals. I'm trying to make it sound fancy. Online magazines. But I was trying to use this journalism degree that I have in any way possible.
Okay.
And so I transitioned out of that. I was like, oh, fantasy football. Well, let me write about that because that's something new and different I can sink my teeth into. So it was just, I think, maybe 2 years after I started that first league where I started writing for The Sportster was the name of the place I wrote for. I don't even know if it's still around.
What year was that? My brain, I'm not doing math well right now.
Boy, that would have been 2016, maybe.
Okay.
I want to say.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds, yeah. Because you said your first league was 7 or 8 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that's probably 2016. Cool. What made you start?
Again, I really just need to utilize this damn journalism degree. Like, come on. Like, I need any excuse to just make my parents believe that I went to college for something. Like, this is going to bear fruit when one way or the other. Yeah. I didn't waste all of this money. And also, I really did just like more I liked the hardship of fantasy football, like setting lineups and all that's great. I actually did like having to go through waivers every week, especially at the start. I don't like it as much anymore, if I'm being honest. But back then, like, I loved that part of the process.
Yeah.
And I loved just the research of it. And I still like that part. It's like, well, okay, let me present the research that I have in as entertaining a way as possible. So that led to me, again, just writing for various sites.
Awesome. Joey, friend of the show, says online periodicals would be a great team name. And I second that motion. So
done. Changing all of my dynasty teams to that tomorrow morning.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Why do I have that banner up? What am I doing? There we go.
I don't know, but follow Nate Povold on Twitter always.
Follow Nate Povold. Yeah. Well, we're going to throw that up because you're the guest. Okay, so what was your first piece of content?
Ooh.
Do you remember?
Okay, I know it was for that Sportster thing, which was kind of like, I'll be honest, it was pretty clickbaity. And I'm almost positive that it was like one of those like 15 craziest fantasy blah, blah, blahs of whatever. It's probably something like that. Or if not that, it was almost definitely like, here's your waiver pickups, because everything I wrote for the first 5 years was waivers pretty much.
Oh, as someone whose show during the season is a waiver show, I feel for you on that one. I don't think I could write a waiver article. Like doing the waiver show, like it's a little more fun, I think, because you can like talk about bids and like if you would take a guy or not, and I don't know, it flows more, I guess. But like writing a waiver article is something I don't think I ever want to do. So,
and you can't talk about the obvious ones, of course, because everybody's talking about the obvious ones. So then you got to go dumpster diving and
exactly.
It's a lot of fun.
Exactly. When did you transition, or when did you start your podcast? When did you transition to podcasting?
I started the DTFF podcast with Dustin 3 years ago, maybe a
Okay.
little bit further back than 3 years. It was before the pandemic. I know
Nice.
it was just before the pandemic, probably, but we did get a little bit in before that kicked off.
Awesome.
Yeah, we started, I want to say 2019.
Okay, cool. Very cool. All right. Last fantasy question for you, maybe for now. Who knows? Is what's your favorite thing about the fantasy football community?
Oh, this is a great question.
Thank
I
you.
will say that I think the fantasy community has expanded a lot recently in a good way,
Yeah.
uh, from my perspective, anyways. I think people generally and genuinely both are very supportive of each other, more so
Genuinely. No.
genuinely. That's a portmanteau for the ages. Portmanteau for the ages, new team name. Joey, get on it. I do think that everybody is very supportive of each other, and more so than like other areas of social media.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, there are cesspools out there
Yeah.
that are the opposite. I'm looking at you, Reddit. You
I
know
was
who you
thinking
are.
the same thing.
But if we take Reddit out of the equation, I think everybody really, truly is for like 99.5% of it. Super supportive. Everybody wants to succeed. Everybody wants everybody else to succeed. It's
Yeah.
not as much of this like elbowing people out of the way stuff
Yeah.
that I think a lot of the industries outside of this have to deal with.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And like, if there's a cause to be fought for or supported, fantasy industry goes all in. Like when Tags
Oh, yeah.
passed away, everyone went all in on supporting Tabby and the kids. And then like with Scott Fishbowl, like everyone is all in on participating in some way because ultimately that is for the children. So I love it. Love it, love
Heck
it.
yeah.
Okay, so next question is tell us a little bit about yourself outside of fantasy football. And I'm going to dive into this for you. A couple specifics I'm looking for here. What's your day job? Just because you and I have talked, I know you're married. So how long you been married? And then any kids or pets? And where are you from?
Okay, I'm going to start at the beginning. I am from this tiny little town in Iowa called Rickardsville.
Okay.
Yes, that's a real town name. No, you probably won't even find it on Google. It is like, a one-horse town, except I don't think there were horses. I did have 2 donkeys growing up, so I think that qualifies it.
Do you have a
Then
stoplight?
no stoplights. No.
Wow.
They got a roundabout put in 2 years ago just outside of town. Doesn't even qualify within our town limit. So that's how small it is. There's a church, there's a ball diamond, there's no gas station. You're gonna have to go to the next town to get gas. Yeah, it's ridiculously small. But anyway, so grew up Rickardsville, Iowa. I did meet my wife back in high school.
Nice.
Senior year of high school, which wasn't in that town, but it's like a bunch of small towns all around that town. None of them were big enough to have their own high school, so they all had to merge. So we merged everybody over, and that's where I met her. So we've been together for 16 plus years. We
Awesome.
actually just got married last year, though. We waited
Oh.
it out just to make sure we were right for each other.
little
You know,
bit,
you
right?
don't want to rush into it in that 14th year and then realize that it's all wrong. So we got married over in Ireland,
I
which was very
saw
cool,
that.
though.
Yeah.
We got to go over there. That's my first time ever being outside of the continental U.S.
Awesome.
So that was very cool. And yeah, I think it's going to work. I have good feelings about it. We have 2 cats right now.
Okay.
I was never a cat guy. I didn't think I was a cat guy, I should say.
Yeah.
Until one just like found its way into our laps, essentially. It was like a sob story. We got a sob story from a relative. Like the tail was frozen to the ground outside of this farmhouse and the mom won't take it back and that kind of thing.
Oh no.
And so I was like, yeah, okay, we'll take it. That sounds great. And then now we kind of became cat people. We've had dogs as well, but we currently have 2 cats. And I forget what the other part of that question is. I apologize.
You already talked about your wife, pets, day job.
Oh, my job. Yes. That's definitely the least important part of it, though, if I'm being honest. My day job, I'm a like consultant type for independent pharmacies. So
Okay.
basically trying to make these little small, a pharmacy that would have fit in Rickardsville, Iowa.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the little guys.
Or like my stepmom's dad, who was a pharmacist in Hogansville, Georgia.
Hey, there you go.
Is probably a little bit bigger than Rickardsville because they have a stoplight, but just one.
Still leagues above them, though.
Awesome. Okay, so next question for you, Jake, is what are your hobbies outside of fantasy football?
Oof. It's tough to answer this because I feel like I've started to merge almost all of my hobbies into fantasy football in some way or the other. So I like to play guitar. I like to sing. I'm not great at either, but I very much enjoy doing it. So I stared trying to use
being
that
humble,
part.
y'all. He's very good.
No, you have no idea the amount of editing that other people have to do to make it look presentable. It's ridiculous. But I do like doing that. I grew up doing martial arts. I don't anymore.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to probably raise my leg above my hip now, but I used to very much enjoy that. And I'm not an active type. I'm not what you call an exercise fiend. But I do enjoy, I play like beach volleyball during the summers, and
Nice.
I love a good beer game, like beer pong. I'm a big fan. Flip cup. I'm still a youth in that way.
I love it.
Joey's comments ridiculous.
I love Joey so much. Part of the reason Joey hasn't been on the sit down with Shane yet is because I don't know if I can handle Joey.
Well,
I feel like we would go off the rails very quickly, and I don't know if I'd be able to get him back on.
Here's what I'll say about Joey. I'm not going to pretend that I know Joey extremely well, but everything that I know about him, I genuinely love. And I do think that he is more professional than you might think of from the outside looking in. If you only judge him from his lovely skits, which you simply must see, go find them. They're all out on YouTube. They are
salutations on Front Yard Fantasy's YouTube are glorious.
Incredible. But if you're only judging him off of that, you're going to get a much different perspective, I think, than if you actually sat down and talked to Joey. So I think he should come on this show.
Oh, he will. He will. I'm just mentally preparing myself first. And I say that out of love, Joey. So awesome. All right, Jake. We have finished the first round of questions. Are you ready for some rapid fire?
Yeah, let's do this thing.
Cool. And just to be clear, it's rapid fire in air quotes. Because if I want to ask a follow-up question, I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Let's see what Joey. Oh, it's Mike. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Mike. And I guess you too, Shane. Did you catch that part?
Yeah,
I saw it.
He throws a lot of shade at me. He
me.
throws a lot of shade at me. Okay. Favorite NFL team?
Green Bay Packers.
Go Packers.
Still, almost reluctantly now, but
go Pack, go. Okay, first follow-up question. If the Packers don't draft a wide receiver in the first round, we're going to lose our shit together, right?
I'm going to light my house on fire, and then I'm going to drive down to wherever your house is, and I'm going to ask you if I can light your house on fire too.
Sure. I'll take
that
the insurance money.
How I am so after 2 years ago when we went through that, and it felt like a lock.
7 rounds. In 2020, we went through 7 rounds without taking a wide receiver. And then in 2021, we went 2 rounds before trading into the third to take Amari Rodgers.
Who, did nothing this year. High hopes for Amari, though, next year, by the way. But it was ridiculous. Flashback to 2020, and then we see Jordan Love, A.J. Dillon, and then this scrappy little H-back, Josiah DeGuara, going in round 3. I'm going to count him as a wide receiver just to keep my sanity intact. But yeah, I will say if we go outside of round 3 without drafting a wide receiver, the exact same chain of events. Yeah, house is going up ablaze if we get out of the first 3 rounds without wide receivers.
I'm with you there. All right, are you a big college football guy?
I would not say big, but I do have my alma mater that I root for.
Who is your favorite college football team?
Wisconsin Badgers.
All right.
Yep. It's where I got this lovely journalism degree that I've been trying to pawn off on everybody.
I love it. Favorite sport that's not football?
Ooh. I like going to baseball games, to watch baseball games in person only. I'm not going to sit down and watch baseball games on the TV.
Yeah.
I recently went to my first hockey game in person. I very much enjoyed that.
Fun.
But I'm not going to sit home and watch it on TV still. I'll go to it in person again. So I think by default, give me basketball.
Okay. Very cool. And I agree with you there. Favorite food?
Can we at least separate this out into sweet and savory? Can we do one of each?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because it's 2 different brains and it's 2 different stomachs. I've always contended this. So if I'm going on like savory, just straight up like I want dinner, I won't go wrong with pizza. I know that's a lame childish answer, and I don't care. It's the variety's there. It's potable, can just take that bad boy in my hand on the road, eat it while I'm driving.
Yep.
A lot of utility in pizza. And if I'm going on the sweet side of things, cheesecake 10 out of 10 times.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
You're
good.
making me want cheesecake now.
It's so good, but get your nuts off of my cheesecake, by the way. Turtle cheesecake? I should have rephrased that, I realize now. But get your turtle cheesecake out of here. That is garbage.
Oh, that is definitely going to be the clip for when this is an audio-only version. Get your nuts off my cheesecake. Oh. All right, favorite sports movie?
Oh my God. Not to plug my podcast again like a douche, but we did an entire podcast of a mock draft of just sports movies because there's so many, and I love so many of them. Michael likes the cheesecake too. Yeah, you're my guy, Michael. I don't want to be the guy who keeps asking to break things down into categories.
No.
But I feel like there's a football obvious one. There's a baseball obvious one. But just picking one is going to drive me insane.
Okay, give me I'm going to make you pick 3. Okay? One football, one baseball, one basketball.
Okay. I can do this. I'm going to start with baseball. And it's Major League. Love me some Major League.
Yeah.
That cast is just dynamite all of the way around.
Yeah.
And it has Wesley Snipes, pre-tax issues, so can't go wrong with that. I'm going to go with football, which is the toughest category. There's so many good ones. You've got your Remember the Titans is. You've got your Any Given Sundays, right? I'm going with the silly, lighthearted. I love The Replacements. I love Keanu in The Replacements with Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
That's just, I'll put it on anytime, anywhere. For basketball, I don't know that many basketball movies. I feel like, was it the Sixth Man with one of the Wayanses as like a ghost? He was like a ghost basketball player or something.
I don't actually.
Or it's like Air Bud, right?
Yeah.
Does Air Bud count?
Air Bud counts. Air Bud counts.
I'm taking Air Bud.
Okay.
Yep.
It's funny that you say that. I think Matt Donnelly did um a fictional characters draft,
Nice. Nice.
and you were drafting for your favorite team, and I think I actually drafted Airbud for the Browns. So
Yes. Upgrade over like half the players on offense. So
yeah,
that's fine.
we've just got a comment show going on in between Joey and Craig. And then Mike says Hoosiers.
I
You
did
can't go
forget
wrong with
about
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers.
You can't go wrong with
Yeah.
Hoosiers.
Yeah,
So,
it's a good call.
all right. Favorite non-sports movie. And I am going to hold you to one on this one.
All right, that's completely fair. I'm not going to be able to answer it, but that's completely fair that you would contain me to one. Non-sports movie. Oh, boy. I'm going to go with... I can't even do like the comedy versus drama, huh? You're going to make me do this? You're going to make me do this one by one?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to go with recency bias then, and something that I can put on, again, 20 times in a row, and I'll watch it every time. Almost Famous.
Okay.
It's a really good movie. If you like music movies that are like vaguely based in reality, that's a golden one.
Yeah. Okay. We're going on an aside here real quick. A Star is Born with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
I've never seen it.
Okay. Then I'm going to stop there, and I'm just going to say I hated the ending. Absolutely hated it.
Like, are we talking like end of Dexter series ending bad? Have you ever seen that? Okay. Well, then how about, wait, is Joey for real that's his favorite film as well?
Which one's his favorite film? We just talked about like 6.
Oh, that's true. I bet it's Air Bud. I bet he's talking about Air Bud, if I had to guess. I no. Okay, how about like the ending of The Sopranos? You ever see like The Sopranos, like how that ended? Okay, but we're never gonna sync this up, but they're bad, and we can agree that the endings are bad.
Famous is his favorite movie. Okay.
Yes, Joey is a golden god. Okay, so ending though of that, not so great.
I'm trying to think. Have you seen Hancock? That's another one that I felt like was a horrible ending. With Will Smith?
Yeah, did he just like slap the bad guys a whole bunch of times?
Well, it was basically like all this build up, and then he gets his ass completely kicked, and it's like, you're supposed to be Hancock. Like, what's going on here?
I'll be honest, I know I saw Hancock like around the time that it came out.
Yeah, but
just because, but it did not. Yeah, that one did not register.
Probably because the ending sucked.
It's very possible.
All right, we'll move on from movies. Favorite book?
Ooh, it's old. I'm going old school on this, so I can pretend like I still read books without having to admit that I don't really read books anymore. But when I was a kid, I loved the Agatha Christie book, And Then There Were None. It's like one of those murder mysteries.
Yeah.
And basically they all go to like this, house in a old kind of islandy thing or whatever, and they're all trapped, and then they get killed off one by one. I love that book. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Jake, added to the list of people that might murder me.
No, I would just probably watch it happen and spectate it for entertainment. I would never do it myself. Lord. You know what's another really good one? I have to give my guy a shout out, Dave Grohl, because R.I.P. to the drummer of Foo Fighters, Taylor Hawkins. I love that band. I love all of that. But I just started reading Dave Grohl's autobiography. And it starts off very slow and not all that great, but it does pick up steam. So that one's pretty good.
Thank you, Joey. I had no one would have figured that out. Okay, so great segue though. Favorite band?
Yeah, it's Foo Fighters. It really is for sure Foo Fighters. I don't even need different genres there. I can hone in on the one.
Yeah. Favorite adult beverage?
Okay, now I just have to ask a question. I'm not trying to get you to expand to allow me different things, but are we talking like a specific type of boot, like bourbon versus whiskey versus beer, or do we want to get more specific, like a brand of something?
I was thinking more broad.
Okay. In that case, I don't want to say beer because it's too obvious and I want to try and class it up. I've got the suspenders on and all that. So
Okay,
I'm going to go
that's
with
fair.
bourbon.
Okay.
I love bourbon.
Okay. Now I will follow up. What is your favorite bourbon?
I like Woodford Reserve a
That's a
whole lot. There's this
great
double
choice.
oaked one that's, yeah, it's just
46, I
dynamite.
think. Is it 46? That might be Maker's Mark, but I feel like Woodford Reserve is also 46. I don't know, but yeah, I know what you're talking
Maybe,
about.
but it is delightful.
Yes. All right. Favorite TV show?
Got it. Why are you doing this to me? I feel like you're trying to make me have a mental breakdown by having to choose between all of my
I'm
favorite
really
things.
not, but your responses to these questions are almost as vicious as Dan Rosier, the B League says were. He gave me a non-answer for every single one of these questions. So at least you're answering. I'm not meaning to cause you pain, but at least you're answering.
Yeah, I eventually provide an answer. It might take me a few steps through the gauntlet to get there, but I
Yeah.
eventually get there. Boy, just all-time favorite TV show. All right, I'm going to try and just think less, okay? And again, it's rewatchability for me.
Yeah,
I
100%.
love I love the show Community.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
big fan.
All right, favorite actor or
I have a
actress or both?
I have a running joke with colleagues at work where every time a question comes up about a movie or an actor or an anything, it's always Paul Rudd. The answer is always Paul Rudd whenever I can squeeze him in. So I would be remiss if I didn't say Paul Rudd here and now.
Perfect. I love it. Okay, so last two questions. I need all time and I need right now. Are you ready?
I'll try.
Favorite defensive player?
So for right now
Mm-hmm.
and for all time.
Correct.
For right now, I am going to be a homer.
That's
In
fine.
I love Jair Alexander.
Great
Watching
choice.
him play is incredible. He's the closest thing to Darrell Revis I've seen in quite some time in
Yeah.
terms of like a lockdown guy. So I'm going to go with him. And for all time, is it lame to say Dion? Is it
No.
really lame if you like the
No.
showboating
No, not at
entertainment
all.
aspect that Dion Sanders brought? I'm gonna go with Dion.
I like it. I think you're the first person to say Dion, so it's definitely not lame.
Okay. I was like, there's a lot of good like linebackers and stuff that I could get in there. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, but Dion was
But as a
fun.
Packers fan, I am judging you a bit. How do you not go Clay Matthews?
Oh, that's not who I thought you were going to razz me about. Actually, that's not who I thought you were going to razz me about.
I'm a younger Packers
Um,
fan.
oh, okay.
Ish.
Okay, that's fair.
Because I think we're close to the same age.
I think so too. My issue with Clay Matthews is eightfold, but I'll keep it to one. It's Clay Matthews. Like after that year where he got moved inside, and he did a great job, I thought, when they actually moved him inside. I thought he did very well. But like every year after that, it was just diminishing returns, and it was waiting for him to get traded. I was like, okay, he just has to move on now, right? Like he's lost it, and that's okay. But he can't play here anymore, and so those last years just kind of like degraded. No, I thought you were going to talk about like Roy Butler or something, as like why I should be ashamed as a Packer fan. But yeah, I don't know, Clay
Or even
Matthews.
Charles Woodson. I will give you hell about Charles Woodson.
Yeah, and honestly, maybe I should have said Charles. I mean, from a Packers perspective, though, he only played a handful of years with the Packers. So in terms of like just true Packers players, I don't take umbrage because of that. But I understand that, yeah, he's better than Dion. But Dion was so fun. He was just fun.
Totally. All right, last question, and then I'll let you go.
All right.
Favorite offensive player, again, all time and right now?
Oh, I think the all-time might be easier than the right now.
Okay.
Actually, all-time, I got to give it up to Randy Moss.
Nice.
Like, just incredible.
Yeah.
Just absolutely incredible, team to team. And I know he had like a down year or two, but like just over the span of that career was insane. For right now, God, see, now I'm going to feel like a homer.
It's okay.
But I think it's Devontae. I think it's Devontae Adams. Okay. And I recognize that even though he's moved on from the Packers for right now, he's once a Packer, always a Packer.
He's still right here.
He's just so good. Like off the line, there's nobody that beats him.
Absolutely not.
The one thing that does bum me out about watching him is after the catch, when he's a few yards down and he comes up on a guy and he tries to shake him. And, he does like a half juke thing. It never works the way he thinks it's going to work. Yeah. And he gets maybe a half yard extra out of it, or he loses two. So Devontae, just, from a unbiased perspective and a coaching perspective, I'm sure you could really use in your life right now. Do less of that. And I think you'll be really successful.
Right? Absolutely. Well, Jake, that wraps up the show. As I expected, it was a ton of fun, and I really appreciate you for coming on. Before we go, make sure you follow Jake on Twitter. Gosh darn it, at Jake Trowbridge. And Jake, before we hop out of here, anything that you want to plug?
No. I'll be floating around Twitter, putting out stuff. Definitely go subscribe to the Matthew Berry Fantasy newsletter, though, because a lot of cool stuff coming for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, this is the Sit Down with Shane. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at FFShaneB. This will come out as an audio-only podcast at Fantasy Nightcap, and I'll tweet that out. Make sure you guys sign up for Polly's Playoff, a tournament to end Alzheimer's. It is a Superflex tiered PPR redraft tournament. $10 entry fee goes straight to the Alzheimer's Association. I haven't determined what the prize will be this year, but last year it was a signed David Montgomery jersey. So we'll figure that out. And right now I do also have a contest running for a Plexico Burress signed jersey. So check out my pinned tweet and the Nightcap pinned tweet. And this is the Sit Down with Shane. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen.